This is the Construction Leading Edge podcast from constructionleadingedge.com. My name is Todd DeWalt. I'm your host, the founder of Construction Leading Edge. And in this episode, we're going to talk about the entrepreneurial mindset. There are three things that, quote, technicians don't believe that entrepreneurs do. The entrepreneurial mindset. And if you're wondering what's the difference between a technician and an entrepreneur, this is the throwback to the E-Myth Revisited, a great book by Michael Gerber, where he says most business owners, most small business owners who think they are entrepreneurs are actually technicians who had an entrepreneurial spasm. So there's a big difference in the mindset between an entrepreneur and a technician. So we're going to talk about three things that entrepreneurs believe that technicians don't when it comes to business. Let's just jump into it. Number one is the belief entrepreneurs believe in systems before need. They believe in systems before need. Most technicians do not believe this. Here's what most people do. They say things like, you know what, let's go create a problem and then we'll figure it out. So a few examples. These are things I've heard in conversations with construction business owners. We have signed a few contracts. We've decided to go into business, signed a few contracts, but now we're wondering, how are we going to do this? How will we keep up with all this work? What software will we use to track all the details? What will we schedule with? Who's going to manage the projects? How are we going to deliver this work? So they've signed contracts without a plan for executing the projects. When it comes to hiring, I had a conversation with someone recently who said, I was hired 3 or 4 months ago, and I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. I have no idea what I was hired for. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So hiring someone without a clear job description, without clear roles and responsibilities, or in a lot of cases, one myth that I hear is we're going to go hire a project manager, or we'll hire an operations manager, we'll hire fill in the blank, and then they'll bring their system with them, or they'll build systems for us, right? Another one is, I hear this a lot from people who've started a business. We started the business, we sold some work, got going, doing our own books, and we'll figure out the financial stuff later. Quote, I'm not a numbers guy. I hear this a lot. I'm a builder, I'm an electrician, I'm this, I'm that, I'm a construction guy, I'm a construction gal, I'm not a numbers person. Starting a business and then figuring out the financial stuff later on. Saying things like, that doesn't matter right now. It's not a problem yet. And maybe in the back of your mind, if you're starting a business or going after a new project or growing the business, you might be thinking, you know what, I'm not even sure this is going to work. So why spend all that time putting systems in place? Let's just wait and see if it works, and then we'll put the systems in place. Does that sound familiar? Well, here's what it should look like. Here's what the entrepreneur does. They believe in systems before need. This means designing your process before you go after the work, establishing this is how we do it. This is how we will do this work. This is how we will deliver it. When it comes to hiring, before an entrepreneur hires someone, they have clearly defined roles and responsibilities. They have designed their organization for the future. They know where this person fits in. They know that this person is, in fact, the right fit. And they know that this role is, in fact, someone they need to hire. In many cases, I see people go out and hire the wrong person for the role. And in some cases, they hire for a role they don't even need because they haven't looked at the big picture. They haven't designed their organization for the future. On the financial side of the business, entrepreneurs establish a precision bookkeeping system before they start doing work. They understand the financial side of the business from day one. They understand that it is a business that builds stuff. It's not a construction operation. It is a business that happens to do construction. And the business side of it is as important, even more important than the construction side of it. So entrepreneurs believe in systems before need. Before we go any further, I have a couple of resources that I want to share with you. Time is one of your most valuable resources, but in construction, it often feels like there just isn't enough of it. As an owner, you're pulled into countless tasks that just aren't the best use of your time, but they still need to get done, right? That's why I want to tell you about today's episode partner, Belay. Belay helps owners in construction, just like you, delegate details like project coordination, client follow-up, and bank and credit card reconciliation so you can focus on your most valuable work. Belay's modern staffing solutions have been helping busy owners delegate the most important details for over a decade. With Belay, you can get intentionally paired with U.S.-based specialists providing virtual assistant, accounting, social media, and website services to level up your business through the power of delegation. To learn more about all the ways Belay can help your construction business and claim an exclusive offer just for our listeners, text the word EDGE to 55123 today. That's text the word EDGE to 55123. Get the support you need to get out of the weeds and back to growing your business with Belay. Are you tired of chasing down field reports? Raken's easy-to-use software helps you connect the field to the office. That way, you get the progress updates you need without wasting hours on the job. With Raken's mobile app, field crews can share updates as they build. Everything from daily reports, time-stamped photos and notes, to time cards, checklists, and production data. All that field data is turned into a professional, branded PDF report, making it easy to see and share how a project is going. With Raken's web dashboard, the office can track projects in real time and find actionable insights to improve them. Give your field crews an app they'll actually use and get the data you need to build better projects. To learn more, go to rakenapp.com. That's RAKENAPP.com. The second thing that entrepreneurs believe that technicians don't is right to left thinking. Right to left thinking. Here's what most do. Most technicians, most people in general, think from left to right. Here's what that looks like for a small construction business. They think, we're going to do the best we can with what we have. We have this crew, this team, these resources. We're going to do the best we can. Leads come in. We'll just take them as they come. When we get a job on my desk, I'll put together an estimate. We'll focus on getting the contract signed, focused on whatever the next step is. And then when we get a contract, then we'll focus on getting started, and then we'll just take it one step at a time. We'll take the wait and see approach, just take this thing one step at a time, and then get to the end of the project, get to the end of the quarter, get to the end of the year, and then look at results and see how things went. Taking what comes to us, they also fall into what I call the JETS trap, the just enough to start trap. This is really thinking just one step ahead, doing just enough to start. Here's what this looks like on a project level. Several years ago, I was involved in the design, development, and construction of a $30 million office building. This was for a publicly traded company. Big company. I'm not going to say the name of the company. And I was working for a real estate developer, and we received this RFP for this project, and it said, we just want a basic office building, and it had the approximate square footage. So we were selected to developed this project, went to work, started designing it, actually had the design about 80% complete. We were about to launch bid documents out to the market, and the client came back and said, "Oh, crap. We realized we need another 20,000 square feet in our building." And so you can imagine we have 80% complete drawings, and we're on a timeline, we're on a schedule to deliver this thing. A lease is signed, commitments are made. And so we scrambled, got the project out to bid, and then all throughout the project, decisions that had been postponed started to be made. And it was a constant churn. It was constant chaos. And it was because the decision makers were doing, on the client side, we're doing just enough to start. Let's do just enough to get an RFP out there. We don't have a program. We don't even know how many people will be in this building. We don't know what the cubicle size is, how many private offices. We don't know anything about it. So let's just do enough to start. We need a number. Let's throw a number out there. And then let's do just enough to get a contractor on board. Let's do just enough to get this started. Let's do just enough. Doing just enough to start is a trap. And what this looks like on smaller projects is let's do just enough to get a contract signed. Let's load it up with allowances. In this case, what we were forced to do was let's do just enough to get a core and shell contract out there for the bulk of the building. We'll figure out all the interior fit out stuff later, right? Lots of allowances, lots of changes, lots of decisions that had to be made after construction started. So signing a contract, filling it up with a bunch of allowances, knowing there are holes in there, saying, we'll figure that stuff out. Let's do just enough to get the contract signed, because we got to get the contract signed, right? Nothing matters if we don't sign the contract. Hiring someone, saying, we need to get a warm body in here. Let's just get them in here, and then we'll figure it out. Let's do just enough to get a job posting out there, just enough to get them started on day one, just enough to get through the week, just enough to keep them happy, right? When it comes to running the business, we're going to run the business. Maybe you've been running the business for 5 years, 10 years. I've spoken with people who've been running their business for 40 years, but there's no plan for the next generation of the business. There's no exit plan. There's no answer to the question, how will I get out of this business? How will this business be able to survive without me? How do I retire? How do I ever get out of this business? So we're doing just enough to run the business, taking on projects, getting through this month, making payroll, getting through the year after year, doing just enough to get by. There's no strategic plan. There's no direction, no vision for the business. We're doing just enough to get through this month, just enough to get through another year. The technician, the business owner, doesn't have a clear vision on where the business is going, doesn't know why they're in business. There's no clear why behind the business. And the team doesn't know where they're headed. They're just turning the crank day after day, shoveling coal into the engine, but not really knowing where they're going. And it's sort of like, imagine if you pulled up to a gas station and someone pulled in with a really nice truck, like a really nice, tricked out, brand new $80,000 truck. And you're like, man, that's a nice truck. Where are you headed to? You notice that they had out-of-state plates. And the guy said, well, I'm here to fill up, and then I'm going to drive about 480 miles to the next, there's this gas station 480 miles from here. And you would say, okay, then what? Well, then I'll just gas it up again, and I'll drive another 480 miles to the next gas station. I'm like, what are you doing? Well, I'm just keeping this truck moving, man. I'm fueling it up, getting to the next gas station so I could fuel it up again so I can get to the next gas station. But they're not really going anywhere. There's no destination. They're just running their truck. And that's how a lot of businesses are. Here's what it can look like, and this is how an entrepreneur operates. This is what an entrepreneur believes. They believe in right to left thinking. They know that it's important to figure out, what does the next generation of the business look like? They're thinking right to left. They're going out to the right side of the page. If you have a project schedule, the completion date is over in the bottom right corner. So they're going out to the right side of the page thinking, what does it look like when I'm not involved? What does the next generation of this business look like? There's also a clear vision for the future. The entrepreneur goes 5 years into the future. They get clarity on the direction and the vision of the company, and they plant a stake in the ground and they say, this is where we're headed. This is where we're going to be in 5 years. This is what the company looks like. This is the type of projects we're going to be going after, or for my Canadian friends, the type of projects that we're going after. This is the type of client we want to work with. This is the type of person we want to be on our team. This is where we're going. Because they understand this ancient truth from the Bible that says, where there is no vision, the people perish. The people wither. They perish without vision. They have a vision for the future, and then they have a strategy to get there. They're working from right to left. This is where we're going. All right, what would it take to get there? What do we need to do to get there? What's the strategy? How will we accomplish it? How do we need to act? How do we need to operate? What does this company need to look like to get where we want it to be? And then they have a roadmap. They have 12-month goals. They have quarterly goals. They have monthly goals that will get them from where they are on the left side of the page over to the right side of the page. They have answers to the questions. Basically, where are we going and how will we get there? Because this is what the entrepreneur understands. The entrepreneur believes that the team wants to know the answers to the question, where are we going and how will we get there? So they answer those questions for their team. When it comes to projects, here's how the entrepreneur looks at projects. They don't look at what would it take to get a contract signed. They look at, how can we have a profitable project at the end? How can it be profitable at the end? The goalpost is not just enough to start. It's not the first step. It's 47 steps over to the right side of the page. How will we have a profitable project where everybody went home safe every day, the quality was good, we paid all of our trade partners and suppliers, and the customer is saying things like, how can we work with you guys some more? So they start with the end in mind. That's what right to left thinking means. When it comes to hiring, the goalpost is not getting someone hired and getting them to show up on day one. The entrepreneur thinks, how can this person be successful at the 6-month mark versus day one? I heard an interesting story from a gentleman who was the chief marketing officer for Chick-fil-A. And he told the story about 20, 25 years ago or more when he was being interviewed for the job with Chick-fil-A. And he was working for another company, and he was being interviewed in stealth mode. And so he started the interviewing process. And about 6 months into this interviewing process, after talking with dozens of people over 6 months, trying to maintain some level of stealth, he was sitting in Truett Cathy's office, the founder of Chick-fil-A. And he said, Truett, I want the job, but this is getting really hard to maintain stealth. What are we doing here? And Steve, the gentleman who was being interviewed, was thinking, what do I need to do to get this job? And Truett Cathy said, Steve, we need to make sure that if we hire you, that you're never going to leave. Because when we hire people, we want them to be here forever. When we bring people into our leadership team for this role, we want you to be here forever. So that was a completely different mindset. So entrepreneurs they have a much longer horizon for success. The technician thinks, what do I need to do? What do I got to do to get somebody in here and help me today? But the entrepreneur has a much longer horizon. They're thinking, how will this person be successful 6 months from now? Or maybe even, how do we make sure that this person is going to be successful forever so they never leave? And also, the entrepreneur has a succession plan, 5 to 7, maybe 10 years before that move happens. So this is right to left thinking, going out to the right side of the page, knowing what the exit is, knowing, instead of focusing, how do I get into business? Thinking, how will I get out of this thing? How will I exit the business? So that's what right to left thinking looks like. So far we've covered 2 beliefs. Number 1, systems before need. The second thing that entrepreneurs believe in is right to left thinking. And the third one, I'll start with this situation. Imagine this. Imagine you own a truck. You paid really good money for this truck. You've been driving this truck for years, and then it starts having some weird problems. So you take it in for service, and later on that day, the service manager calls you up and says, yeah, we figured out what's wrong with your truck. It's the battery. There's a problem with the battery. And you say, all right, great. Well, how much to replace the battery? And the service manager says, I'm not really sure. It's probably going to could be like $15,000 to $20,000. $15,000 to $20,000. And you're like, hold on, wait a minute. I'm not trying to buy a new truck. I just need a new battery. And the guy says, yeah, it's like 15 to 20 grand to replace the battery. And you're like, how can that possibly be? How can it be 20 grand to replace the battery? And then the service manager says, that's even if we can do it. There's no guarantee we can even do it. And you're like, how can that possibly be? So the service manager begins to explain and tells you, well, when this truck was designed, they never really thought about replacing the battery. So they buried it in the middle of the truck. So in order to replace the battery, to even get to the battery, the first thing we have to do is we have to pull the engine out, and then we have to pull the transmission. We may have to modify the frame. We need to pull all the electrical systems out. And you're like, okay, well, that doesn't sound that complicated. And then the service manager said, yeah, that's the easy part. Then we have to actually build a new battery from scratch, because every truck is different. Every truck is unique. Some are 12 volts, some are 27 volts, some are 6 volts. We have to figure out the voltage, then we have to design a battery, and we have to actually build a battery from scratch, a very unique, customized battery. That's why it costs 20 grand if we can even do it. You might say, that's ridiculous. That is insane. Why would anybody ever design a truck and not think about replacing the battery? You'd probably say, well, it sounds like it was designed to fail. It's almost like they want to make money on the service side, or there's some nefarious reason why they would ever design it to fail, because that's like they're planning for failure. Well, the truth is most small construction businesses are designed to fail without the owner in place. Most small construction businesses were unintentionally designed to fail. So in this case, the owner is the battery and the truck is the business. So you can listen to episode 258 of the podcast for a deeper dive into why 80% of construction businesses are designed to fail and why they have no terminal value. Though they can't be sold, the business owner can't retire, and it's because they were unintentionally designed to fail. So that's what this is one of the most tragic and unfortunate things that technicians believe, is that the business needs to be built around them, and they are unintentionally designing their business to fail. Again, go listen to episode 258 for a deeper dive into that. But here's what entrepreneurs believe. Entrepreneurs believe that the business should be designed to run without the owner. Successful entrepreneurs, successful businesses, multi-generational businesses, businesses that are resilient, that have terminal value, that can be sold, that can be transferred from one generation to the next, are designed from the ground up so they can run without the founder or the owner. Or they're designed from the ground up so that the owner, the CEO, is replaceable. This is a fundamental difference between the entrepreneur and the technician. The technician intentionally or unintentionally designs their business so it will fail without them, that they are irreplaceable. But the entrepreneur builds their business from the ground up so that they are replaceable and the business will run without them. What this looks like more specifically is that entrepreneurs build their business around systems and processes. They're not dependent on specific people. They are built around systems and processes. There is a visible and well-understood organizational structure. The organization is designed intentionally. People have clearly defined roles and responsibilities. It's measurable results. It's a well-designed machine that will run without the owner, or is designed so that the owner is replaceable. There are documented processes in place explaining this is how we do things here. This is how we do things. Well documented. It's not in someone's head. This is one reason that technicians are irreplaceable, because everything's in their head. Entrepreneurs understand, if I want this thing to run without me, or if I want to be replaceable, I have to get all of this institutional knowledge out of my noggin into a more accessible format, into a document that explains this is how we do it. And they have a business that runs like a well-oiled machine. And when a part, whatever part that is ready to retire, it can be replaced without having to tear apart the entire business, tear apart the entire operation, or scrap the operation. So when the business owner is ready to retire or exit or step away, the business continues running. When any other key member of the business is ready to retire, or something happens to them, or they leave, the business can run without them. That specific part can be replaced. So let's recap. 3 things that the entrepreneur believes, the entrepreneurial mindset, 3 things that the entrepreneur believes that technicians don't. Number 1, they believe in systems before need. Number 2, they believe in right to left thinking, and they avoid the just enough to start thinking trap. And number 3, they believe that the business should be designed to run without the owner. They believe that the owner should be replaceable in the business design. So if you own a business, or you're planning on starting a business, then think about this. Picture this situation. You have systems in place, right? You have systems for how you hand off a project from the office to the field. You have systems for quality control. You have systems for punch list. You have systems for selling. Your team has clearly defined roles and responsibilities. It's really clear who is accountable for what results, and you're able to delegate results to your team and not have to tell everybody what to do. It's not all in your head. You have documented processes. You have a document that explains this is how we do it. This is how we do things, and the team can refer back to that. New hires can be trained based on that. You have a vision for where you're going. The team understands the vision. The team gets it. The team is smelling what you're cooking, and they're clear on the vision for the company. You have clarity on what the next phase of the business or what the next generation of the business looks like. You have an exit plan. You know if you're going to sell the business, transfer it to employees, set up an ESOP, transfer it to your kids, maybe retain passive ownership, but you have clarity on what the next phase of the business looks like. And you're able to work on the business instead of being stuck working in it. You can do strategic stuff. You can work on systems. You can build out the things you want to build out. You can work on the business instead of being stuck working in it. You can think 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 6 months out instead of being stuck in the next 4 hours, trying to keep up with 300 emails and messages a day, and the phone won't stop ringing. You have the bandwidth and the energy to work on the business. And then you'll be able to step away from the business to some degree. Imagine what it would be like to be able to step away. Maybe stepping away means just to work a normal work week and be able to unplug literally and figuratively when you get home at the end of the day, not take phone calls and messages at the dinner table with your family, not have your spouse say, "Hey, are you here? Or what are you thinking about?" Or not be in a bad mood when you get home, not be stressed, not have to get up early on Saturday mornings and try to do paperwork. Let's have a normal work week. Maybe take a 3-day weekend periodically. What about if you could go on a vacation for a week and not have to keep up with emails, phone calls, schedules while you're on, quote, vacation, and then not have a mess to clean up, not have to pay the price for taking a vacation with your family when you get back? What if you could spend a day or two a week on other business interests, maybe real estate investments or acquiring another business, or maybe there's some charity or philanthropy you'd like to spend more time and energy on. Maybe spend more time on your boat, on the golf course, in a tree somewhere, in a deer stand. And then long term, to be able to step away from the business and be able to retire, be able to sell the business, move on to the next business venture, be able to retire, whatever that may be. But what would it be like to be able to step away, to get out of your business to whatever degree you'd like to? Think about this. What would be the best part for you to have those systems and the team in place, be able to step away? What would be the best part for you about that? And then when you have those in place, what would that do for your spouse? If you're more present at home, if you're figuratively present, if you're getting home at a reasonable time every day, and then when you are home, if you were actually mentally present with your spouse and your family, what would it do for your kids? If you have kids, whether they're young, teenagers, adult children, what would it do for your kids to have those things in place? Maybe you're like, you know what, I can handle this stress, but what would it do for your spouse and your kids to have these things in place? And then what about your team? What about your employees? If they had clarity on the process, if they had clarity on the vision of where you're going, clarity on roles and responsibilities, and they knew exactly what winning looked like for them, and they knew that you trusted them to do their job, what would that do for them? Well, if you want to make the shift from technician to entrepreneur, then those are 3 mindset shifts. Those are 3 beliefs you need to embrace. Systems before need, right to left thinking, design this thing to run without you. If you'd like our help, we would love to help you. We are helping dozens of construction business owners operate as entrepreneurs, make the transition from technician to entrepreneur every day. And that's in our Systematize Your Construction Business program. You can get all the details. You can find out more about that by taking the first step, which is to apply to work with us. You can go to constructionleadingedge.com/apply. Fill out that application. We'll see if we have a good mutual fit. You'll find out more about that. There's a quick assessment there that you can take, handful of questions that may help you determine, should I do this? But I can tell you, if you're a technician and you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to have a business that runs without you, then go to constructionleadingedge.com/apply to take the first step. Thanks so much. See you next time. Hey, thanks so much for listening. I have one challenge and one request for you before you go. Here's the challenge. What is your 5-minute action item from this podcast? In other words, what is one thing you want to implement in your business or on your projects that will take you 5 minutes or less? My challenge for you is to create an action item as soon as this podcast is over and do it. Send yourself a text, send yourself an email, put it in your planner, write it down in your unicorn journal, whatever it is, but take action on something from this podcast episode so you get some real value from it. Now, here's the request. If this podcast has been valuable to you, please leave a rating and a review. Here's how to leave a review on Apple Podcasts on your iOS device. Number 1, open up the Apple Podcast app. Number 2, go to the icons at the bottom of the screen and choose search. Search for this show, Construction Leading Edge. Be sure to click on the show, not the episode. Then scroll all the way down to ratings and reviews, and finally click on write a review. These instructions will also be in the show notes. If you could leave a rating and a review, that would mean a lot to me, and it also helps get the word out there to other folks. And don't forget, if you want to get out of your business and make it run without you this year, go watch my free online training workshop at constructionleadingedge.com/get out. That's constructionleadingedge.com/GETOUT. Thanks so much for listening. My name is Todd DeWalt. I'll see you next time. Remember, every project starts in the field, and Raken's field-friendly software makes documentation easy. With Raken's mobile app, crews can document progress on the go, and you can track everything in real time right from the office. So, give your field crews an app they'll actually use and stay on top of all your projects. To learn more, go to rakenapp.com. That's RAKENAPP.com. As I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, our friends at Belay can help free you up to focus on the things only you can do with support from one of their U.S.-based specialists. Belay helps owners in construction, just like you, delegate the important details like tracking expenses, payroll, and scheduling so you can reclaim time to focus on your most valuable work, the work only you can do. Just text the word EDGE today to 55123 to claim an exclusive offer for Construction Leading Edge listeners. That's EDGE to the number 55123. In no time, you'll be back to doing what only you can do, growing your business with a leading edge.